Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's Deep South, home to Cycling Southland and the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Now in its 65th year, the Tour is one of the country's longest running sporting events and the most prestigious title in New Zealand cycling. The list of past winners is a who's who of New Zealand road racing, and it remains the toughest test of the Kiwi calendar. 84 riders in 14 teams covering 7 days, 836 kilometres of full throttle racing, all to crown one man as the 2021 SBS Bank Tour of Southland champion. Fresh from climbing the Remarkables mountain range, the 2021 SBS Bank Tour peloton turned its wheels south on Thursday for Day 5 stage featuring the iconic finish atop Bluff Hill. With Tour leader Michael Vink looking more and more in control, sunny and calm conditions greeted the riders, and an early three-man breakaway got out to a 2-minute lead before the decisive break of four, including Stage 3 winner Campbell Pithy, made their move. Pithy put himself in prime position on the climb as the yellow jersey and Wednesday's stage winner Josh Burnett both worked their way through the field. Pithy got the job done, taking the stage by 16 seconds over Burnett, with Vink crossing the line in fourth, just 28 seconds down. The two-time champion's grip on this year's event has tightened, Vink taking a 1 minute and 52 second lead into Friday's stage to Gore, perhaps the chasing pack's last chance to challenge for the 2021 title.
Everyone's just grateful that it's still happening and we can still do this in the current time. Everyone's getting a bit nervous coming into it with the way things are going. So yeah, it's a brutal week, but you just love being part of it. So yeah.
We've had rain. We've had. I took a bit of skin off the other day, and it's been everything really. It's been everything I expected. Yeah, so I sort of picked up a bike a year and a half ago off Trade Me, and just before lockdown actually, and just sort of started riding a wee bit, and it just sort of snowballed from there really. Yeah. No, it was such a cool day up the Remarks, and I really had my teammate Ollie just lead me in there nicely, and all stars aligned really, and got to pedal up the Remarks with just behind Michael Vink, and that was, yeah, too bad I guess.
Yeah, so our team, On Your Bike 1.5 metres, On Your Bike's it's a group spreading awareness for keeping the 1.5 metre distance for cars passing cyclists out on the road. Day 6, the legs are pretty tired, but yeah, just go hard from the start and try and stick with any moves that go.
Oh, we're gonna empty our legs, I guess, and see if we can get Ollie up for a stage result today, hopefully.
The penultimate day here in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland as just over 70 riders roll out through the neutral section of Invercargill.
Perfect conditions again. The weather may be coming right, but I think the nervousness and anxiety in some of these GC contenders, Michael Vink especially, will be rising as the days go on. Of course, as you get closer and closer to the finish line in Gala Street, that's when you really start having some doubts in whether or not it's going to happen or not. So the supporter course, as we talk about, is fantastic. Today's stage is by no means easy. There's no easy day in the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. They'll be hoping the wind doesn't pop up, because if it does, they'll be torn to ribbons in about 20 k's.
The flag about to be dropped here at James Hargis Junior High School on Layard Street, as it has for a number of years, and of course this is a stage that has seen the tour turned on its head a number of times, and Vink has been on both sides of that ledger, so he'll be very aware of this today, hoping to get through in calm conditions here as they make their way out of Invercargill.
He's very, very calm, and he has projected himself so well. He's been such an affable chap after all the stage finishes as well. The camaraderie between all these GC contenders is very obvious to see. He's a true sportsman, Michael Vink, and as he says himself, he's lost this jersey as many times as he's won it, so he knows full well what he's in for.
So the speed starts to pick up as they approach one of the first sprints of the day. And of course, we've talked about this before. Plenty of races within inside the race here, and the Harcourt Sprint Ace is one of those ones there. We can see the green jersey about 3 back as they make their way down towards the first of the preems of the day. And a few men here trying to pick up a few dollars along the way, because there's a few teams that haven't been to the forefront. They'll be looking for a few dollars, but there's more importantly the guys looking for the points. And here we go. It is George Jackson in the green jersey there. just gets it over James Fouché. These two are having a great battle when it comes to the sprint ace.
Gosh, you'd think that was a sprint for the stage finish, the way they were contesting that sprint from so far out, and it does show you the competitiveness and the kind of dedication these guys have to these category jerseys. King of the Mountains in any stage race or a sprint ace jersey in any of these major stage races is a big thing, but to win it in the SBS Bank Tours is a real prize.
And it's great to see, of course, coming into the second last day of the tour, the fact that it's so close when it comes to a number of those jerseys. Let's not forget, of course, the pink jersey, for example, only about 15 odd seconds separating those top couple of guys. So a lot to race for here yet, let alone for the man in yellow. As they approach, by the looks of it, yet another sprint. You can see the seesawing off the front here as a few of the teams. And once again, Doug, it's the Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling. Not a surprise to see them towards the front.
This is just on the outskirts of Invercargill. We've not even reached Morris Bush yet. The start of the stage has been so fast. And as you've just mentioned, the Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling team, Scott Guyton's the manager, a former winner himself. He knows full well the kind of responsibilities required to take out the overall category of leader in this race. And the Bolton Equities boys have really come down here to race. And I think today they've shown their intentions super early on.
Riders looking over the shoulder there, preparing for looks like yet another sprint, because we can see the man with the green sleeves there. That is the Harcourt's sprint ace. As we've said, George Jackson, the current national scratch race champion, goes on to the front, and not a surprise to see again Fouché in the mix there. And it looks like one of the Share the Road Macaulay Ford team in the orange there also getting themselves in the mix, but Jackson securing himself a further 3 points.
And still on the outskirts of Invercargill, attack after attack, and there's Logan Curry, the Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling team member, just attacked right in front of Michael Vink, who's just let him go. This is another bold move. They're going to just keep attacking this guy until they can get away, but there's still so much racing. That's just been one of the most aggressive starts in recent years, the stage to Gore in the SBS Bank Tour.
Yes, the man in yellow, you can see him have a bit of a look. He's got his teammates surrounding him here. He makes a very quick decision. Is that a rider I need to chase? Is he a threat to the general classification? The answer at this point is no, so he allowed him just to roll off here. He'll keep a very close eye towards the front of it as a few other riders try to scramble away across to the front.
The effort involved at this stage of the race, with basically a day to go to get across to these breaks or try and establish these breaks, is just huge. Your legs are screaming. They're sore from all of the racing that you've had in the previous days. They've been battered throughout this whole week. So for these guys to be racing this way with a day to go in this race is just incredible. And there again, it looks like the Creation Signs, Josh Burnett up the front there. He's just had an incredible tour. They're riding themselves to a standstill.
So the riders now making their way up towards Central Southland into Winton here, and it's a couple of men involved in the competition for the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains who are doing battle, as we see Paul Wright here in the very unique looking colours of the Creation Signs Mitre Cuke going off the front, and the polka dot jerseys keeping a close eye on him, because we know that both of these riders have picked up a lot of points here. But you can see Wright having a look over his shoulder, deciding, no, I'm going to sit up here. There's no point in me taking the KOM away with me when there are points available up the road.
And as you see, once the right combination sticks and the right number of teams who are represented in the break goes, it's almost like an invisible elastic band gets cut, and these guys have just ridden away from the group, and the group is saying enough's enough, let's let them go. And you can see it's quite easy to get away, but how many attacks have been before that one went? That's the tough bit in bike racing.
I think Yarrell here has been stuck in the sandwich of the battle of the King of the Mountains, so he's now going off the front here is the KOM Pithy, 2-stage winner already. Looking over his shoulders, bit of discussion going on here. He's not happy with Paul Wright. I don't think either of them are happy with each other. Yarrell, as I said, has just decided, well, if you two want to have your discussion, you can have that there privately. I'm out of here.
Guy Yarrell's racing his first ever SBS Bank Tour of Southland, so this is all learning and new ground for him. He is actually, believe it or not, sitting his university law exams during this race as well. So a lot of these guys have got secondary stuff going on in their lives, students and so on. So Guy Yarrell, a famous name in Christchurch endurance sport, he's having an absolute blinder here today. The Oxford Edge guys will be stoked that he's away on this break.
So the trio continue to open up a reasonable sort of a gap, but that's really due to the fact of Yarrow on the front here, because the other two really aren't cooperating, and there's a very good reason for that. You've got the leader in the polka dot, the king of the mountains, Pithy, and of course he doesn't want to be taking with him a serious contender, a man that's hot on his heels. That's Paul Wright. Two separate teams, the one jersey, they can't split it, so they want to get rid of each other here, and hence why we're starting to see them sit up and head back towards the peloton.
Meanwhile, Guy Yarrell, the under-23 rider from the Oxford Edge team, is head down and committing to staying away at the front of this race, and he's going to do it on his own if he has to. He'll be really hoping that there's a couple of other riders jump across from that main peloton to him. He'll be riding along here as hard as he can, getting a bit of water, but there doesn't really look like there's any real action or anyone sort of motivated to get across to him. So Guy Yarrell at this point is out in front on his own.
He's got over 100 kilometres still to go in the stage here. Can he do it solo, or will we see someone try and get across? In the meantime, it's just the team in the yellow here. Well, it is the yellow with only one teammate towards the front, keeping a very close eye on things as they roll through central Southland.
Yeah, once again, this Transport Engineering Southland Tallies team have been very, very well skilled. They like keeping things coordinated and keeping it together. There's Matt Zenovich, number 103 from the Share the Road Macaulay Ford team, trying to pick up a couple of extra sprint points along the way, and obviously pipped there by the looks of things by the boy Jackson, who's riding for the Creation Signs team. These category jerseys are just so hotly contested. We saw the King of the Mountains situation there earlier on. It's going to go right to the wire, I think, right to Gala Street.
And George Jackson and Zenovich teaming up a little bit here as we see a couple of other colours making their way across. They've continued the pressure on after a sprint. This is very much like the points race on the track here, where you've got to watch for the counterattack straight after the sprint here, and that's what these guys are trying to use to their advantage. It'll catch a few back off guard in the peloton as we see a chasing group now start to establish themselves off the front of the peloton. So we've got the single man up in front with Yarrow, these four chasing in a peloton watching the race disappear up the road.
And of course the danger man in this group from an overall point of view probably is James Fouché from the Bolton Equities Backspoke Pro Cycling. None of those chaps will be chasing back in the group, and you can see as they're riding along they're slowly but surely going to catch up here with Guy Yarrell from the Mike Greer Homes Circuit Asphalt team. He'll be quite happy to jump on the back of this group, have a bit to drink, have a bit to eat, start rolling through. That's his ticket to ride. It's a lot easier in a group of 5 than on your own.
Yes, Yarrell's been very proactive indeed here, and he's setting himself up to get into this lead group, who are not too far away from him as they head across towards Browns into the Headshow region, where it starts to get a bit undulating. A few hill climb points will be up for grabs, so hence why you'll see the likes of Fouché there, because he has been a contender in that particular competition throughout the week. Not only that, he was also in the mix for the green jersey, so George Jackson making sure he keeps close to him.
Yeah, it's just so exciting, and seeing who goes up the road and who's nominated from these teams, there is a bit of roulette involved in that. To see the time gap now is out to 1:20. James Fouché's just been so aggressive in this year's race. Obviously, he's coming from having lost that time to Michael Vink, who did the demo job on the tour, whole field on the first day. So these boys are really playing catch up, and whether or not they've got enough race left to do it, all the legs is going to be seen to be believed, isn't it?
Absolutely, as we see the man from On Your Bike, 1.5 metres, good message out there for the safety message for the riders on the road, for the kids and adults alike. It's Cameron Jones, the under-23 mountain bike champion, that's made the cut here in this lead group. Zenovich, it's deja vu, feels like 12 months ago, was off the front for this particular stage at that time. So the four of them just rolling up, as we said, a few of these undulations here. One of the King of the Mountains points up for grabs, and it looks like the colours of Fouché that's gone off the front. Maybe he's making the decision here, Doug, on the road, that is the jersey he needs to target, and maybe it's too difficult to try and secure both the green and polka dot.
So James Fouché, the Black Spoke Bolton Equities rider, takes that Titapur hill climb. Taking advantage, of course, is the fact that Paul Wright from Creation Signs and Campbell Pithy are not in this breakaway. So he's maximising every single point he can get out on the road.
So this lead group now on the other side of Mataura, making their way up on one of the ascents, another few points available for the King of the Mountains. And of course, there's been a lot of climbs here today available for the likes of Fouché, but they're not significant in terms of Cat 1. There are lower categories in the tour, so he's going to have to try and keep the medal on here right to the very finish and pick up the maximum amount of points if he wants to seriously challenge for that King of the Mountains.
Yeah, I think the surges that are now starting to come in from the likes of James Fouché are starting to take its toll on. You can see there Matt Zenovich from the Share the Road Macaulay Ford team's just struggling in the pace, and number 166 Cameron Jones on your bike 1.5, he is really struggling. So it is going to be down to this front trio if they can latch back onto James Fouché over the top of this climb. It is a tough climb, this climb. There are another couple coming up as well, so this is certainly getting into the business end of this stage.
And speaking of business, I think Fouché's decided the business is not only pick up points along the road, but I might try and pick myself up a stage victory as well, as very quickly he has opened up a decent gap over the top of the hill here. Here are the two chasers, his teammates, if you like, for the last 60k, have decided now they're going to have to really try and chase hard. The sprint ace and Yarrow, who's been out there for a fair part of the tour stage.
Yeah, these two boys are working well together, but James Fouché has just put some time into them straight away. We're seeing that quite a bit as this tour wears on. The Bolton Equities Black Spoke team have come here very well drilled. Back in the peloton, you can see again it's just a controlled, sort of measured approach here. Michael Vink will be making sure that everyone's rolling through that can possibly do so in his team. But James Fouché out the front of this race, there'll be some red flags and alarm bells starting to ring in the Michael Vink Transport Engineering Tallies camp, I would think.
Yeah, interesting to note too, Doug, that this peloton seems to have reduced quite a bit. I mean, ideal conditions out there, but very fast conditions, and that's what we've seen over the last few days. They've been averaging 42 to 43k an hour over 150k stages here, and regardless of the sunshine and the lack of wind here, that backed up day by day is starting to show the fatigue for some of these riders, but very much the man in yellow, surrounded by his teammates, and no surprise, Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling. They're not interested in going to the front. They've got their man out in front on the stage.
Quite dramatic scenes there. James Fouché, of course, now coming into Gore. There's a few streets you have to go through the outskirts before you start climbing up the last sort of big climb of the day up Broughton Street, which has got those points attached for KOM. So James Fouché is really, really into it here. He's not looking around. He's obviously committed to winning this stage, committed to getting as much time up on GC as he can, and he really is coming on in this race. He's just getting stronger and stronger each day.
For Fouché, of course, it is all about the stage victory now, because he's no threat to the man in yellow in the overall general classification. Unfortunately for Fouché, he lost significant time early in the tour, and the team leader, the tour leader I should say, Vink, knows that full well, hence why they're keeping things under control. Still over 2 minutes back to them, but of course there are the two chasers in the middle here chasing for a potential stage victory. Let's not forget about them. They're only seconds off the back of Fouché.
Yeah, this is coming together quite nicely for the Transport Engineering Southland Tallies team. They're so well and clinically drilled at the ends of these races. James Fouché, of course, out the front here, coming up the last part of this climb up Broughton Street. It does get steeper and steeper as you go further and further up. So you can see here he's changing down in a gear, getting into a bit more of a tempo as well on his Pinarello Dogma bike. They're fantastic machines. A lot of these guys have raced in all sorts of teams all over the year, but these guys have raced on the same bikes all year, all the way through. The fancy carbon fibre wheels, everything you can possibly get. This is as good as you can buy.
Here we go with the former national road champion here, getting himself over the top, picking up the maximum points. As we said earlier, that should get him now into the polka dot jersey. This has often been a hill on which we've seen the springboard for the break in the last closing kilometres into Gore, but today it's all about a man doing a time trial. Has he got the legs today to be able to do this? He's been out in front for quite some time now, so he's going to look over the shoulders, keep it close on, because there's a fair way up that he can see all the bunches coming.
James Fouché, he's not unaccustomed to winning King of the Mountains jerseys in major stage races. He's done so in a number of countries this year, including France. So he has really, really come to this year's SBS Bank Tour of Southland with some good climbing form. Back in the main peloton here, you can see the Transport Engineering Southland Tallies team. They are really starting to put the gas on, trying to catch this front trio. They may have left it too late, I believe. It's not long to go from the top of this Broughton Street climb.
Also potentially setting up Vink to ensure that he's got himself right on the front. I mean, the sort of climbing legs that he's shown over the last few days here, he could put some more pressure onto these riders, and he can pick up a few seconds. It'll all count and bank that up going into the time trial tomorrow morning.
Yeah, the time trial tomorrow was really the only sort of decider, I guess, if you like, to finish off things for the yellow jersey contention. But then, having said that, it's changed hands in that last stage on the last day too. And I think Michael Vink is so aware of this and is being so cautious and so careful with his measured approach. He's not getting ahead of himself. As he said himself, he's not counting his chickens before they hatch.
He's certainly nullifying the attacks, particularly uphill, knowing he's one of the strongest contenders there. Bailey O'Donnell tucked in behind him. As we go back to our leader, Fouché, coming on to the edge of the town of Gore here. There's only a few kilometres left here for the time trial effort. He still knows he's got two men chasing him, with the likes of Jackson, who's been riding extremely well. Guy Yarrell also in the mix there. And then the main peloton chasing down. He would have seen the chalkboard, know the time differences here. He's counting it down. He knows he's getting very close to a fantastic victory here in the Tour.
It's an extremely fast finish from the top of Broughton Street. It's virtually a descent down onto the main highway, and then it's a very, very nice, slow, fast run in all the way to the finish. You can see the speed of the peloton, whom are chasing this front trio, coming straight round here onto that last right-hander before they hit the main road. But James Fouché, he has really, really taken it to these guys today. The Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling team are not lying down at all. They've come here to do as much as they can to try and win this race and try and win as many stages as they possibly can.
Yes, we've said it time and time again, these teams go out every day to try and light up the race and pick up a few dollars and make it very exciting for the public, and they're certainly doing this once again in the 65th edition of Australasia's longest running tour. And Fouché now gives the fist pump. I've got it. I'm going to take this one out. He's rolled the dice, and it looks like this is going to pay off for him and the Black Spoke Pro Cycling team.
Yeah, what a wonderful victory for James Fouché. They've really got such an organised and well-drilled team. As we said, Scott Guyton's the manager. Back over in Europe, there's another lad who's well known to cycling circles. Frank Van Hazerbroek is the manager over there. So they'll be just stoked for the whole team. This is a big victory.
The true professional he is. He zips up the front of his jersey here as he approaches the last remaining metres here in the Mataura Licensing Trust Stage 6 of this SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The arms are raised above here in triumph as he takes out a fantastic stage for his team, the Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling. Meanwhile, the sprint here into second place goes to the man in the green jersey, Jackson, over Yarrell, missing out on that opportunity to take a win for themselves today, but very close indeed. And meanwhile, we have the man in yellow ducks sitting in the peloton coming into town.
Yeah, he's played it very safe today. He's had a very, very strategic day, had his team on the front in all the right places, covered all of the attacks. And you can see here that's one of the creation signs, Ben Oliver from the creation signs Mitre Q winning the bunch kick into this stage. But Michael Vink retains that yellow jersey.
Yes, he's got himself in a very safe position, as much as you can be going into the time trial tomorrow, as we see the congratulations amongst the riders. And it's a good sign to see a mixture of all the different teams getting involved there. They know the efforts that have gone on to take out a stage in any tour, let alone the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, is no mean effort. And they've come along to congratulate this man here, James Fouché. The general classification is a replica of yesterday, with Michael Vink retaining the yellow jersey by 1 minute 52 over Ollie Jones and Luke Mudgway at 2:21 in third place. George Jackson had an extremely busy day on the roads of Southland today, extending his lead in the Harcourt Sprint Ace with 72 points over Fouché. So Fouché changed his focus and managed to get himself the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains with 36 points over Pithy and Burnett's. Canterbury's Bailey O'Donnell continues to lead by just a mere 25 seconds over Logan Curry in the Henderson Construction under 23. No change to the Stonewood Homes silver jersey category, with Hayden over Odlin and Hagen. Local man Matt Zenovich was awarded today's Macleay Jaws Most Combative. Bolton Equities Black Spoke Pro Cycling have an 8 minute 6 second lead over Creation Signs Mitre Q and Team Couplands in the Wednesday Cycles team classification.
Started the week with the boys trying to go for the yellow jersey, so we're still trying to tick away at that and work out ways we can beat Michael. So time trial tomorrow and the road race in the afternoon. I think we're going to have to reassess with the boys. Obviously we're still going for the yellow jersey. We've got a bit of time to make up, but anything's possible at Tour of Southland, so we'll go to the drawing board with that, and we'll walk away with KOM at least, so that's a bonus for us. But obviously yellow jersey and a stage win tomorrow is what we're after.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.